Customer data sits unused in most company systems. Marketing campaigns lack personalization, conversion rates remain stagnant, your competitors gain market share. How can you transform relationship data into revenue-driving marketing campaigns? According to a 2024 Acquia CX Trends report, 93% of marketers believe collecting first-party data is more critical than ever for an organization. This underscores the growing importance of leveraging direct customer insights to fuel effective marketing strategies. Here's the challenge. Most businesses collect extensive customer data. Few use it in effective marketing. Even fewer connect it to revenue outcomes. How can you bridge the gap between data collection and campaign execution? This is the Voice of the Search podcast. I'm Jordan Cooney, and joining us today is Eddie Patch, VP of Revenue at Optimove, which helps brands deliver personalized customer experience at scale. Today, Eddie will share how to transform relationship data into high-performing marketing campaigns that drive measurable results. Eddie, welcome to the Voice of Search podcast.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Eddie, you and I go way back, and it's always fun to have friends on the pod, so I'm super thrilled to have you here. We started our careers together at Searchmetrics, helping to build what was search and content data, right? And helping companies scale search and content data in their marketing experience. And you've since moved on to have a very successful career in a variety of different organizations. Maybe share a little bit with our listeners what that path has looked like and how you've been involved in the data journey across marketing, sales, customer experience data, and where you're at now with Optimove.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime I get an excuse to see you and talk to you again, I'm there for it. So
Thanks,
happy
Ed.
to be here. My journey has been primarily working at a variety of different software vendors or software companies. I've spent time starting at Groupon and then moved into some location data, and then had the chance of meeting you at Searchmetrics. And then interestingly enough, the Searchmetrics days, if you remember, we had launched the first AI content experience at the time, and it's been pretty fascinating to see where things have gotten since then. But in my career, there's always been a data element to any company that I joined, whether it was third-party data in MarTech to where I am today at Optimove. I joined Optimove because I was watching the buzz and the hype around the deprecation of third-party cookies, and I wanted to find a company that was truly taking first-party data and figuring out ways that they could expand on it and do more with it. And Optimove really just fit the bill when it came to leveraging your first-party data and the customer-led marketing in terms of their slogan and their approach. I've been with the company for about a year and a half now.
Awesome. Very cool. And I think you're right. I mean, there's been so much changing in the data space, both from what companies can collect, regulation changes over the past couple of years. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially over the next 3 to 4 years, as we see how AI unfolds, we're going to see more and more restrictions or requirements on how businesses, companies, brands can leverage data, which kind of leads me to my first question for you, which is like kind of how the data foundation is evolving, and why is it so critical for businesses to integrate first-party CRM data into their marketing and their marketing capabilities, into their content and their content efforts, versus relying on what historically has been, something that you and I have worked on together, third-party data, tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, other marketing tools that even exist out there to help companies like SimilarWeb. I want to understand, like, why is that value there in that first-party CRM data so critical?
Yeah, it feels like the market's just been evolving higher and higher from the third party data to then there's also second party data, which a lot of people don't talk about, which is kind of
Mm.
if you were to connect with your partner and share mutual customer data or plug into some type of data co-op, that would be your second party data. And then
Mm.
first party data is just becoming more and more valuable. It's becoming the gold standard because everybody has access to third party data at this point. It's fairly commoditized, and first party data is only reserved for the ones that are doing well in acquiring and actually building their first party data set. So the move into first party data is becoming even more and more important. And there's obviously other benefits of truly doubling down on that data set. The first one would be just the accuracy. So it's the compared to third party data where you're not always sure exactly what the source that you're relying on. Not to mention it's kind of being passed through a lot of hands sometimes, so the accuracy is just missing. And with first party data, you could have a higher reliance on that. And then with any type of third party data or even second, you're not getting the behavioral signals and the preferences of an individual. That's typically not coming through in a holistic way. So you're missing on that as well. And then the third one is the understanding of where someone fits into a life cycle or where they are in their buying stage. I think in the old days of search, we could kind of assess where somebody is in their buying journey based on how deep into a website they're going, time on site, all
Right.
those type of
Right.
signals. But
Yep.
now we're getting this massive comprehensive view of really where people sit in their life cycle stage, not just today, but their historical and the journey that they've taken to get there.
Absolutely. I totally agree on that journey piece. And I think it's becoming, and it has over the past couple of years become more and more muddled for search marketers, paid or organic, as Google has changed the game. And unequivocally, I think it has hurt them, hurt Google more than helped them to not be as transparent, which is why I think there's going to be a continued push to discovery and other experiences like OpenAI and ChatGPT or other LLM models. But before we get into that, how do you see AI and AI technology helping to change the ability to pull, use, and fuel the businesses that want to use this first party data? How's AI really transforming that capability to do everything from titles improvements, product page improvements, web improvements? How are you guys seeing that, and how have you seen that firsthand in working with your clients and partners?
Yeah, I mean the introduction of AI into this entire world means you can instantly do more with your data, and so it's the ability to mine that first party data and then and actually take action on it. So it's effectively powering the entire experience and personalization engine that's happening across an entire life cycle journey rather than just looking at individual channels, whether it's email or website. Now we're looking comprehensively at this golden single marketing view, which a lot of marketers have been chasing for a while. Like the old term was the omni-channel, and people have been trying to get to it for a
Right.
long time. But
Yeah.
now we're truly at this real single marketing view that it's legit, it's real.
Interesting. And what are some examples of this? Like, how are you seeing this work for certain brands or certain companies or partners that you've worked with over the years?
Yeah, so the some of the more sophisticated marketers, whether it's like a Sephora or some of the companies like a FanDuel, people that are really on the cutting edge of marketing, uh, they're they're now looking at it in terms of segment journeys and like the same way you would kind of look at cohorts, where
Mm.
you instead of just looking at but like the old way of looking at it was, well, we sent out an email today and we had a 40% open rate, so things must be good. But it's
Right.
actually like you want to know the whole journey of what did it look like when we sent an email, people that ended up on site and then they got an SMS push. What did that cohort look like? And that's actually when you introduce AI, you have an opportunity to begin having hundreds, and some people even companies have thousands of different these like cohorts or sub segments that they're tracking
Hmm.
the journey across the whole thing and not just based down to one email.
No doubt. Yeah, I love that. And I think you brought this up here because when you understand those segments, you then get to know how to better personalize your efforts, right? So
Yep.
when it comes to like personalization and what we do around personalization, what types of customer data actually create the value for these brands? What data really drives their understanding of the segment to personalization? And I'm throwing in another kind of curveball into this question, which is like, how is zero party data part of that game?
Yeah. So we live in an era where I log into Spotify. I have my own DJ. I sign into Netflix. It's telling me what to watch. Everything is
Right.
personalized and tailored to us as individuals. And with the access to introducing that data, now the entire journey is being personalized. So it's looking at your past behavior. It's looking at the contextual signals that make who you are and make it feel more relevant to you. And zero party data. So let's go back to that hierarchy. So it's the third party, second party first, and now the introduction of zero party data, which is where people are opting in to give us some of their own preference data and some information about themselves that they might not have provided otherwise. So an example of that would be if I'm Expedia and I let's say I launch a adventure game to my customer base where they can swipe left or swipe right based on their favorite destinations, and at the end, I'm going to tell you what your dream vacation looks like. So that's now
Yeah.
I'm collecting a lot of information about what is this person like, cities or beaches? Do they like long flights? Or are they
Right.
looking for they love the short getaways? So that's the zero party data. And so not only does it access that more personalization, but it also gives you an opportunity to do a few other things. So it's the cross-channel consistency. So the experience that they have with your brand is going to be the same now. Because we're gonna know a little bit
Right.
more. We could tailor it to you whether you're on mobile or on a website. So it's a better overall brand experience. So it's unlocking a lot.
It is. I love this concept because when we hear Google in particular talk about like how things are changing with AI, one of the things they keep pushing on is this concept of multimodal. And I fundamentally believe that multimodal experiences go beyond just images and video. I mean, at the backbone, those are really important assets that engage users. But multimodal really gets to this concept of how can you collect zero party data? How can you
Interesting.
engage with a user so deeply that the experience, a swipe an engagement to provide insight, then gives that brand knowledge about the user that then helps them curate better campaign, better market, better target that particular user. I'm curious, Eddie. I mean, on this concept, like, where do you see brands using this zero party data to shape content, shape experiences, and how does that end up in like organic or LLM like discovery?
Yeah, I actually I actually want to ask a question on that because
Yeah.
you're closer to the way the LLMs are shaping the way people search today. If you take the experience of using an LLM with a contextual window, let's say we're using Perplexity, and it's giving you these follow-up questions, and you're kind of just like you're almost chatting with the search, and then you're telling
Yeah.
it what is interesting to you and what's the next interesting point to you. In your opinion, is that seems like a form of zero-party data at that point? It's like a
It
long-tail
100% is.
zero-party data.
Yeah, no question. I think that the conceptually though, most LLMs today start with a blank slate, right? Like they
Hmm.
start with like a blank Word doc, right? It used to be like the age old writer's block, which is like, oh, you have to do something and you have to start writing and creating something. LLM based discovery starts in the same way today, right? You
Sure.
open up ChatGPT, it's just a blank field, right? Over time, I think they're going to evolve that, and certainly brands are evolving that into the experiences that they have. So yours about Expedia is spot on, right? Which is like, how do you get to a dream vacation? Well, that's a lot of different interests, budgets, data that you need about that user in order to provide them a really relevant um, outcome on a dream vacation. I
Yep.
think that those curated experiences are the connection point between a brand and their consumers that unlock value in LLMs, unlock value in Google search. AI can help us get there. But the realization here is that we don't actually think about, at least in my opinion, search marketers aren't actually thinking about this as zero party data. They're
Yep.
not yet thinking about this, and it's not yet connected to their content campaigns, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. So let's say it's a future version of it, but in present day, the way it's happening is that, like, going back to the swipe left, swipe right game, like
Hmm.
each of those data points are being matched back to the individual, and it's making its way back into Snowflake or Databricks. It's making its way back into a data warehouse. It's getting stitched over to the customer ID, and the way it's being surfacing itself again later is, rather than having a basic email of hi, first name, maybe this is like, we know you looked at this product. Well, now I could say, hey, there's a sale. It's to Paris. You told us you like Paris. We know you've got kids. You mentioned you're a family. Like, now I'm really personalizing, tailoring, and that could be an email. That could be a flash sale with a push notification.
Yep.
It's just not a generic push anymore. It's truly talking to the individual at that point.
100%. I remember, I've been traveling internationally for many, many years now, right? And I remember back when I was traveling quite a bit with eBay and then with search metrics, that I would have to go into my banking institutions and notify them that I was going to be traveling so that my
Yeah.
credit card would work, my debit card would work, like all my stuff would work, right? Like, and over the years, that stopped happening. Why? Because I bought the ticket on my credit card. They knew I was going to be on a plane to that country. There was no, like, it was very evident through the data trail that they knew where I was going to be and how I was going to probably engage through hotel purchases, plane purchases, train purchases, all these events. And they kind of preemptively opted me into this travel notification. And I think we're moving into a world where that's going to be part of how we think about marketing campaigns, content marketing, paid campaigns, email campaigns. And I'm curious about this implementation, right?
Hmm.
Because in my example, that took years for these financial institutions to get to that level of sophistication. But like this data stitching and this capability for marketers, specifically marketers, digital marketers, to be able to stitch customer data is still a challenge. And you mentioned it earlier, omni-channel, multi-channel, like this world is got so many different ways of thinking about where we invest our money from a marketing perspective. How does ID resolution, how does customer ID information help us organize and overcome the obstacles of understanding how to implement effective marketing campaigns?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think it comes down to the brands that are willing to prioritize customer experience, which seems far removed. But if you think about the story about the travel, like there's two brands that are doing that. There's two different brands. Let's say it's when I landed in America in Paris, uh, I used my card one time, and then American Express started sending me offers for the local area. They were tailoring it to where I was. There was no question, just to your example. But
Yeah.
then there could be an airline, let's say it rhymes with United, where I have a 5 hour layover somewhere, and no one's even checking in or even acknowledging that I was sitting in an airport waiting for 5 hours. There's just no contextual connection, and I think it comes down
Mm.
to customer experience and those that are willing to invest in it. Uh, Regardless of whether they're investing or not, though, the way it gets to this situation is just the way companies grow, and it's the way that they evolve with their tech stack. So you have companies that are growing quickly, and they're purchasing software here and there, they're purchasing tools here and there, and oftentimes it becomes really siloed, and you're at that point it becomes really tough to start stitching together and having that accurate viewpoint. Uh, a
And so in your
retailer.
opinion, Eddie, is this like a organizational segmentation problem? Like because the customer support or customer teams aren't talking to the marketing teams and they're just so siloed? Is that one of the main root causes of where this lack of connection isn't taking place? Like I mean your example is perfect, right? Like
Yeah.
most people who travel in like they travel a lot and there's like basically like designated routes. Like you can pretty much pinpoint when someone's going to be at a specific airport or a specific venue, and you know pretty much instantly that this person is loyal to these hotels or loyal to these airlines, and you can kind of very quickly create a profile that
You would think.
allows you to sell them donuts or
You would think.
snacks or whatever it is, you know? So what's lacking here? What's preventing these marketing teams? Is it siloed organizations?
Yes.
Is it lack of technology? Is it both?
It's both, but it's the siloed organizations, because the ones that I've talked to that move quicker and actually solve this faster, they may be in a situation where they have a loyalty team. So they have a loyalty ID. They have a technical
Mm.
team that's powering the in-store experience. So they have a POS ID for an individual. They have an
Mm-hmm.
in-store sign up. They have a web sign up, and all before you know, you've got 4 or 5 minimum profiles per person. And then
Mm-hmm.
each of those examples I gave you represents a different team in an enterprise organization. There's the loyalty team, and then there's our email teams. Like it's all, every channel is being separated when you get up into the Fortune 500. The ones that do it well have acknowledged it at the C-suite level that this needs to be improved. And I've seen brands go as far as creating almost like a center of excellence, where it's somebody who comes in and creates a very senior team that oversees all of it. They essentially implement their own tech stack, and they sit on top of everything. And so now I have full plug-in into our customer tickets. I have full plug-in into the POS, and I can easily being that I'm the one orchestrating it as a single team, I can finally use the right technology to fix that. But the
Yeah.
companies that can't get to that center of excellence, or they don't have that acknowledgement at the top, it's just going to continue being siloed. It's a really hard thing to fix.
And in your opinion, do you think AI is going to reshape the way we measure and reach these successful executions? Like, is AI essentially going to help us leapfrog this blocker that many organizations are facing?
Yeah, it is. So if companies can trust it from an operational standpoint, it gives you the ability to fix this at scale. So the the first examples of AI would, like when you talk about AI to a brand, the first things they think about are the basic image creation, content generation, and those are all fine and fun, but like I don't know that we're quite there yet in terms of some of that. But from an operation standpoint, there's a lot of low hanging fruit. So some of the here's an example of how, if you use technology and AI to fix this, you could
Yeah.
have a better situation. So upfront, the company or the marketing team, let's say, they basically go in and they prioritize what priority a customer should receive in terms of communication. And the first 5, 10 priorities are kind of manual. Like if it's their birthday, they get their birthday. If it's a customer issue complaint, that gets prioritized. After
Sure.
that, they begin to trust AI to tell them what priority and exclusion should be happening, and
Mm.
how it should look going forward. So, what we at Optimove, there's a product we have. It's called self-optimizing journey, and we have
Right.
that self-optimizing campaign. So it's basically deciding for you when something should be prioritized and when it should be pushed down, because doing it at scale with millions of customers is just impossible.
100% is. I'm curious though, on this same topic, around how we kind of orchestrate different layers about audiences and different layers about like the customers that we look at, and like how we
Yep.
organize this information. And I want to give you a personal example, right? Like, I travel, a fair bit, maybe a couple times a month. I'm on the road. I'm going to visit a client. I'm going to go to event, conference, whatever it is, right? But 90% of my travel is business,
Hmm.
right? Like, I'm traveling for work. I'm not traveling for fun. Although arguably my wife might tell me that she
Yeah, I
thinks I'm
get
just
that.
out there having fun, but let's
I
be
get
honest,
that
it's
too.
not always fun and games.
uh,
So, but like the interesting thing is, whenever I get emails from any of my loyalty groups, whether it be my airline, hotels, my car, all of them have these lovely photos of these family vacations. But
Hmm.
90% of my travel is business. I'm not hanging out with my kids on the beach as much as I would love to be able to do that. That's not what's
Yeah.
happening. Like, tell me about how we should be organizing, orchestrating the layers, and then connecting that to the channels we use, these diverse marketing channels that consistently are evolving now, especially in search, to really get better about that sophistication. I can promise you, I could open a United email right now, and I promise you that that email is all about some fun vacation in Hawaii that ain't happening.
It's I don't think there's any tool right now that's completely solving that, to be honest. So there's two ways that marketers approach it. They do what's
Mm,
called deterministic matching, and then they do probabilistic matching.
mm,
Deterministic is basically like, hey, Jordan signed up with a work email. This address he plugged in, probably his work address because of that. Uh, the transactions that we're seeing tied to this profile, most likely they are business oriented. And then there's this additional wave of thought, which is the probabilistic, which says, well, Jordan does this flight a lot, but he had this outlier flight where he actually ended up in Hawaii. So we kind of think that maybe this isn't just a professional email. This is actually showing us more signals that he might be a real person and actually goes on real trips.
yeah.
The challenge with the probabilistic right now is that it's back to that accuracy issue. So I think there's definitely a room for a company to come in and start creating an AI generated version of that to help improve it. Uh, this is what some of these big companies are built on right now. Like if you think about like a Merkle, TransUnion, they are the ones who sit on all this data, and this is
Yeah,
something
the
that they
financial data. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not just financial data. It's like it's all the profile signals that make up Jordan, and then being able to
Yeah.
separate it out between the business and the personal. But they're ultimately the ones that will probably power that if they can innovate and catch up and build the AI components faster. And I've seen TransUnion in particular. I mean, they're building some really cool stuff when it comes to this. But yeah, still a big challenge for retail and for all brands.
When you think about the brands that you've been partnering with or that you've been exploring the use of integrating all of these data components, particularly zero party data, what are some of the measurements? Like how should our audience be thinking about measuring the effectiveness of collecting that zero party data and then integrating it into our marketing, our content, our web experiences?
I think it comes down to first and foremost that people just need to be able to operationalize the zero party data more, and they need to be able to use AI to mine their first party data more. I think that's kind of where people are is the how do we actually use this and make it a utility for the business. And there become interesting ways to measure it because now you're connecting into your CRM, you're using that to then create new website experiences. You're basically creating new content. So the engagement becomes a big piece. So I think if you think about the traditional time on site, but it's the engagement with, well, we got them to come in and actually open the mobile app from that really personalized push. And then how many pages did they go to in the app? You know, how many things did they put into their cart? So I think it becomes a measurement of the engagement right now. And then with
Right.
platforms like ours, we could take it further, and instead of just measuring the vanity metrics, we could start to say that campaign you ran translated in X amount of dollars, uh, whether it's per person or per journey, but having a revenue attributed directly tied to that journey, which is something that people haven't been able to do in the past. A lot
Right.
of those marketing metrics, they should just live in your ESP, and you would know that you had a successful campaign with the open rates. But now I could say we did a test and control, and we noticed that the 80% that you sent it to, actually you had a lift in incremental revenue, and that test group we clearly see that it didn't attribute into revenue. So I think we're getting closer
Interesting.
to a better ROI story rather than just like a fluffy metric at this point.
Yep. Makes sense. I want to turn this into like a practical like action plan, something that our listeners can do. So as marketers and a marketer that might be listening to this episode, what are some of the real steps that they can take to start to integrate data and build the capabilities to reach their audience more effectively, specifically through organic AI LLM channels and the efforts, say, across content, technical, or web experience?
Yeah. So I think some of it falls in the few of the themes we touched on. I would say go figure out a way to collect more zero-party data. Don't be afraid of things like gamification, which is like the swipe left, swipe right. What are other things you can
Yeah.
do in store with kiosks? Anything that you're doing to improve on that zero-party data, and then operationalize it. So use it for some SEO-rich landing pages tailored to that segment. Start to actually put it into motion with the on-site content too. Number two, find ways to connect that into your CRM for the full website experience, so that as your content strategy builds, you're aligning the content to those same segments. And then three, find the less blatant AI use cases that you can uncover. Going back to my example earlier, don't just look at the imagery and the content creation. Go find ways that you can optimize campaigns and optimize segments and start to trust AI for that, because it's going to give you smarter insights about your audience, and it's going to get you away from the vanity metrics. So I would say just don't be afraid to hop in and start using it on the operational side.
Love it. All right, now we're going to move into our lightning round. We're going to go through 5 different questions to really deep dive into this topic. We're going to start off with our first question: buy or sell? All right. Are you buying or selling that zero-party data will become more valuable to marketers in 2025?
It's 100% buying. If I didn't make it clear before, so there's only so much you could scale your first-party data. Zero-party data is just it's the new gold. It's the new gold rush. Everything else, third-party data, that's what everybody else is doing, and that's what everybody else has been doing since 2019 and 2020, which wasn't that long ago. But if you want to be on a different playing field, you move into the zero and you start to take over that way.
I think there's just so much education still left out there on this concept. I mean, I see it for our industry, the SEO industry. I think so few SEOs are actually talking about this, and even fewer know how to collect and manage it, which is one of the things that make me really concerned about, like, how quickly can we adapt to getting to a world where we are, as SEOs, effectively collecting zero-party data. I mean, just briefly, I know this is a lightning round, but like, your perspective, Eddie, like, how can people move faster on getting on the zero-party data train?
It's one of those things where I've done a few speaking engagements or workshops where we highlight zero-party data, and it feels obvious at first, but once you sit down for 30 minutes and talk about the value and benefit behind it, it becomes a no-brainer, and then it just becomes about figuring out how you're going to do it. Once the executive team gets the buy-in and you start to look at specific metrics. Well, our traffic has only grown by 10%. Our customer base has only grown by 10%. We have to do something different. And the only way to unlock that is to get that zero-party data. So I think once it becomes just an intentional topic internally, you could really start to make motion on it. But until then, it's kind of just in the background. People aren't really realizing it until then.
That's true. Absolutely. Are there any tools or ways that marketers, can really leverage that zero-party data today more effectively?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention this one. So Optimove just acquired a gamification company. I'm Spear. So there's a really strong founder named Caleb who's joined the team. I like to call him the Milton Bradley of digital gamification. He's from Estonia, so when I made that reference, he had no idea what I was talking about. But he's the digital Milton Bradley. So it's called Adact, ADACT, Adact by Optimove. It's a self-serve product. You can just like hop right in and start building games. There's 60 different
Very
templates,
cool.
and then you basically start embedding them in your emails and on your site. And it's not just a generic gamification platform. It's built with zero-party data in mind. So it's very
Interesting.
much built around that to do that. So yeah, check that out.
Oh, I love it. Great recommendation. All right, on to our next lightning round question. Crystal ball. Predict one major data-driven marketing shift that will happen in the next 5 years.
Ooh, okay. 5 years. So I would say the way that things are going, it seems like the product team and product teams are going to start increasingly owning more of the performance marketing, like directly tied to the product team. On the B2B side, PLG, like that's that
Mm,
example. How you're
yeah.
funneling people in, how you're what experience you're building for them. Uh, it's a direct tie into the product team. You can't get away from that. Uh, and so
Yeah.
with AI coming into more in the workplace, it's actually reducing the silos between each team, between as search, between marketing, between product, and it's becoming more cross-functional. And I think the performance of how a campaign does and how what kind of revenue lift it has is just going to keep falling more and more into the product world.
Historically, especially in larger organizations, this this relationship between product and marketing has been very, very strained. You know, sometimes competing priorities,
Yep.
sometimes differentiated needs between the organizations. How will zero party data help bring those teams closer together?
It's a good question. I think in order to truly leverage the zero party data in a way that people want to, you're going to need, as a marketer, you're going to need the product team behind you, whether it's the
Hmm.
way you're collecting it, where you're storing it, how you're accessing it. So the two really need to work with it really closely. Most marketers today, some of the more technical ones are running SQL script and like doing their own thing. Most of them are still relying on a product team or a data analyst to pull that for them. So they need to be on the same page with zero party data because they're kind of leaning on each other for it in many ways.
Yeah, no question. I think it's one of those journeys that we're going to continue to see unfold, which is how you take this zero party data or even first party data to some extent and utilize that to convince product teams to invest, to expand the initiatives that marketing teams have, and then again, like you said in the beginning, like rely on that relationship to store, maintain, and then refine that data to help expand marketing efforts. So
Yeah.
it's a critical partnership to the success of any marketing team.
Oh, for sure. No, 100%.
So next, lightning round question, toss up here. Would you choose to invest in better data integration or advanced content personalization if you had limited marketing resources and could only choose one?
Hmm. I feel like advanced content personalization to me is a better data integration. So better data integration because fancy content white papers and creative and copy and fancy images,
Yeah.
they're gonna mean nothing if you aren't targeting the right people. So the data integration and accuracy and the way that whether you're being able to pull that data in real time or having to do it in batch data, but just the way that it's structured around the data integration, it becomes more important at that point.
But so many marketers today are just heavily dependent on this like perception based marketing, which is like, I believe that our audience needs this. I believe that our buyers want this white paper that's 7,000 words long.
Yeah.
There's no data behind it. There's arguably even very little third party data, even if we want to use that. You know, I fully agree with you that there's a huge need for us to be more capable of data integration, but I fundamentally don't think that the mentality's there. So how do you shift the mentality of the marketers to believe that the data integration leads to better marketing outcomes?
I think it's shifting itself. The CMOs that I meet are becoming CMO with a very different journey. So a lot of them
Mm.
actually, if they didn't start in sales, shout out to all my sellers. They started in the data and the product side, like actually like super close to the product side often. And so we're seeing the rise of a more technical CMO, and that persona is becoming just naturally more interested in that piece of the business. They're becoming less, I don't want to say ego driven, but less about like the big fancy campaigns that just look really nice, and they're actually
Right.
because of their quote unquote upbringing, they are naturally just very data driven, and you have to be.
Yeah. Love that. And I definitely agree. I think that new flock of energy into the marketing suite is key. And I think those experiences lead to better data integration and data aggregation for those marketing teams.
Yep.
What's the word, Eddie? Give me one word that describes the relationship between customer data and marketing campaign success today.
Okay. I don't know if it's one word, but I think it should be. Power couple. So power couple, is there a hyphen? I think it's one word. It's one
Sure,
word.
we'll hyphenate it. We'll
Yeah.
hyphenate it. All in.
So
Power couple.
it's
All
it's
right.
the power couple. So winning growth teams are essentially, they're equally prioritizing, and they're making it
Interesting.
a single motion. So I would say power couple is
I
more
love that.
fun than, yeah. Let's go with that. Let's just say it's one word.
And so with this power couple concept, curious about money. Let's talk about money because usually in power couples, there's usually a money conversation that has to
Yeah.
happen, right? Um, Investment is it going more heavily in the actual marketing campaigning and investing there, or is it coming in through the customer data and then making the decisions?
So is the money? Can you say that one more
So
time?
are companies or brands allocating when they think about the money, the budget that's going to go in? Are they thinking about it from the marketing campaign lens? Like I'm going to put money in paid search. I'm going to put money in SEO. I'm going to put money in TV brand. Or are they thinking about it from the customer data lens, which is essentially, hey, we need to put money in customers who are invested in buying long haul international flights, customers who are looking for local US domestic vacations, right? Like that's the customer data telling us to put money in those buckets, and then you do the campaigning versus the other way around.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I've seen there are brands, and these are typically legacy brands that are probably on their kind of their way out. Like think about like an aging brick and mortar retailer type kind of company where they're investing all of their money and just blasting their customer base as often as they can. So they're putting a lot of money into every channel because they know that if I put 4 million in this week, we're going to get back a certain amount of a return. The problem with that is it's all temporary and it could be gone in a second. Um, and it's basically like this like lifeline that they're constantly trying to tap into. So the brands I don't think are doing it well, that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are doing it right and putting their dollars through future infrastructure, building the company in a way that it's going to be continue to be able to innovate and stay cutting edge over the next couple of years. So going back to some of the like center of excellence, adopting technology that's going to allow them to operationalize. And then the ones that are doing it really well are also investing in just learning more about their customers. So being able to deploy zero party data, but finding additional ways that they can enrich their customer data, and just being a little smarter with what's happening behind the scenes, rather than just that batch and blast approach. It's just not working anymore.
No doubt. Yep. Okay. Final lightning round question. Let's get into a game plan.
Okay.
So let's say you're a CMO or in the C suite. What's your game plan to develop a convincing argument to your technical leadership to integrate customer data?
Yeah. Probably a very tough conversation to have. I think there's a couple of ways to approach. So we touched on it too. Uh, you need to quantify the business opportunity or the business impact. So just being able to quantify it on a large scale. not describing it as we're just relevant to me, the marketer, but actually how it's impacting the entire business. You would quantify the cost of inaction. And so you would basically paint the picture. What does this look like in 12 months? And
Mm.
if we keep doing this for the next 12 to 24 months, what are we going to look like as a business at that point? And then it's for a lot of the marketers trying to bridge the gap between their tech teams. It's an efficiency play for the tech team. Going back to what we talked about earlier, marketers are still really reliant on the tech team, the BI and the analysts to pull a query for them. All these ad hoc requests.
Sure.
If you improve and invest in the infrastructure and the tools you're using, you start to eliminate a lot of the ad hoc requests, and you're actually freeing up efficiency for your tech team. And then the last thing is just that the tech teams today are they're all very excited and passionate about the AI opportunity. So it's if you could speak to their language and say, I'm on board with you with your AI readiness strategy, and I know you're deploying all these different tactics you want to do in AI. Like, this is just an extension of that. I think it's an easier way to get them excited and start to bridge that gap when you take that approach.
Question for you, like on this, like how much of this with tech leadership is the balancing of fear or loss or missed opportunity versus growth, acceleration, and expanded marketing opportunities? Like, even in your narrative there's components of it that are like, hey, we're going to miss out if we don't do this, versus like, there's this huge growth opportunity here. How are you thinking about balancing those conversations with technical leadership?
Well, I think the technical leadership team has a preference for the tooling that they're already working in. And so that becomes the question is, well, how long is it going to take us to migrate? How long is it going to take for us to integrate? Do they even integrate with us? Is it going to slow down everything else I'm trying to do? Are you actually like creating more work for me? Or are you in the long run making it easier? So I think it comes down to more about that. Senior technical leadership, obviously, they're going to be tied to similar KPIs in a lot of ways, so they have that incentive. But for the most part, it's how can you not come in and give them more work and make their life harder, especially when they're already going down the path with the tooling that they want to go with.
Yeah, great point. And that wraps up this episode of the Voice of Search podcast. A huge thank you to Eddie Patch from Optimove for joining us. If you'd like to contact Eddie, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes, or you can find his information on voicesofsearch.com. For more information about Optimove, visit optimove.com. If you haven't subscribed yet and want a daily stream of SEO and content marketing knowledge in your podcast feed, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app or on YouTube, and we'll be back in your feed soon. Okay, that's all for today. But until next time, remember, the answers are always in the data.